Hi, it's Wendy Passmore here, and I thought I would just share with you one of my writings from the memoir group I'm a part of. And someone asked if I would just write about my spiritual journey. So this is what that is, my story, my spiritual journey. Thanks to Mom, attending the Anglican Church throughout my childhood was part of my growing up experience. I was engaged, and I even remember having the role of waving a star of blessing over all the other kids in the Sunday school play. The feeling of blessing those kids was wonderful, even at the age of 4 or so. Perhaps a prophetic glimpse of my future. I was baptized and confirmed, which required a recitation of the Nicene Creed by memory. God was presented as the man in the sky who required our obedience, and Christianity was presented as a belief system. The warm, intimate, and unconditional loving relationship with Jesus, empowered by the life giving Spirit, was never talked about. Had I been introduced to such a possibility back then, I wonder if my life would have been different. And so it was a long and winding road to find my way to this divine and loving embrace. Like most teenagers, I fell off the church wagon. The church experience, along with my family, gave me a conscience and the sense of right and wrong, but there was a deep search going on in me. I would continually ask my mom to delve deeper with me into the meaning of life questions. In her exasperation, she would always tell me to let it go. The church did not offer the answers I was seeking, and so when I left home, I began my search for meaning. The hippie Woodstock era um, offered an idealism that was appealing. All we are saying is give peace a chance, was something I embraced. The communal life of sharing was a welcome contrast to the capitalistic individualism that permeated society. And the psychedelic drugs offered an otherworldly experience which could take me to transcendent places. But all of that fell apart when I almost did not come back from one of those extraterrestrial jaunts. So I discovered that the countercultural life was not the answer. In retrospect, I do believe I was protected by the one who was calling me. Soon after this episode, I found myself in the basement of a Catholic church with about 30 others sitting in a circle praying and singing. The experience of the Spirit penetrating my soul was deep and life changing. I felt loved. I did not feel that God was a taskmaster in the sky who demanded obedience, but rather an unconditionally loving presence to be felt and experienced. My life was then turned around and a new path set. It would take time, however, to know and understand this divine reality. The cottage where I called home became a place of what seemed a battleground for my soul. I would be up at night renouncing the evil presence I sensed and declaring myself to be God's now. I later found out that the cottage was once occupied by members of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. So, with perhaps their lingering presence and my decision to leave the drug culture, the battle ensued. It felt very real. I emerged free. So, with that taken care of, I found my way into a community life at the local Catholic church where there was a vibrant youth corps, Taizé prayer, And from there, a group of new friends surrounded me. This community, I learned, was so important, where we could pray together and support each other. At that time, I didn't think much about theology or the belief systems of the church, but rather I felt a sense of belonging, which I needed to support my new path. Even though I was unaware of it, I can see now the divine guidance which led me not only to this supportive community, but also to my chatting with a Jesuit priest who put me in touch with the Long Lac First Nations community, where I would eventually go to live for a while. It was in Long Lac where I was baptized in the Spirit. There was a charismatic prayer group in the community, and my longing was to receive this gift of the Spirit. It is scripturally based, where in the Acts of the Apostles at Pentecost, the Spirit came upon all those who gathered. And one of the manifestations of this experience was the speaking in tongues. For me, I was alone in my room, sitting in front of my prayer corner, praying and seeking this experience. It is hard to describe what happened. I felt totally engulfed in spiritual energy that put me in such a high that I couldn't sleep for hours. I was filled with joy and ecstasy. The reality of God's power and loving presence was again made manifest to me. God longed to heal my inner wounds, but I needed to feel safe in being loved to open my heart to that possibility. I can see now that this supernatural experience of love enabled me to pursue the inner healing of my soul. Journaling was important for this journey, as my journal was a place where I learned to be radically honest with the divine about how I was feeling. Any emotion was fair game in this writing, and experiencing God as an unconditionally loving presence enabled this freedom. And thinking about it, I never would have been able to get to this if my sense of God had been the judgmental guy in the sky. And so my work in the world continued, but always with my eye on ongoing inner healing and transformation, enabled by the compassionate presence of the Holy. I continued on with the church, with dreams and visions of how she might be in the world. A gradual revelation began to happen as I began to experience an inner discomfort with the message of the liturgy. Christianity's hierarchical and patriarchal origins from the Roman Empire continue to be reflected and are not based in the truth. Focusing on sin and our need for confession is an affront to God's unconditional, hospitable love. And the atonement belief of Christ dying for our sins was something I no longer embraced. My experience of God is my truth. I experience divine and supernatural love before any kind of confession. In the intimacy of this relationship, I am honest about my shortcomings and brokenness, and feel understood and experience healing and new freedom to be myself. And in following Jesus, I have come to know that there is no hierarchy, wherein male, female, slave, free, corporate giant, and the homeless are all one. I am loved. I am known. I matter. And I belong is my mantra as of late. And it is my deep desire that others might come to truly experience this reality. So thanks for listening. Till next time. Bless you.